In today's interview, we had the pleasure of speaking with our client, Mark Valderrama, who's earning $2,500 passive every single month from his YouTube automation channel. And that number is growing. And he's even managed to get his channel up to 25,000 subscribers, which is crazy considering that he started with us not too long ago. So he's going to be sharing some insights, the journey of what it takes to build a profitable YouTube automation channel using the Cashflow Channels system and exactly how he did it. So let's go ahead and jump into it. All right, we are here with our client, Mark Valderrama. He has been with us for, I think, a little over a year now, Mark. And your channel last time made its first $1,000, but now you're hitting around $2,000 a month in revenue from your channel.
Yeah, we're getting close to $2,500 a month. So it's
Oh,
been
wow,
pretty good.
25.
I think we're on pace to hit about 400,000 views this month. I also
Wow.
noticed a demographic shift as the audience has grown, getting close to hitting 25,000 subscribers. And as all that's grown, I noticed my first world country demographic has grown a lot. So when I first started, this is something I just observed, but when I first started, I think the US demographic was about 25%. And I thought to
Okay.
myself, well, I can't be doing that good on YouTube because everyone's like foreigners. They're all, it's mostly like from India, Pakistan, or not Pakistan, but Singapore, or like
Hmm.
countries like that. I was like,
Yep.
this is low RPM audience. I hope it gets better over time. And I talked to a few people in the space, and they're like, yeah, it changes over time as you get bigger, because as you get bigger, the US audience trusts you more. And I've noticed that shift ever since I hit 20,000 subscribers, that the US and the UK audience has been growing. So
Interesting.
my blog is about 75-80% US and UK.
Hmm.
And I'm hoping I'll get there eventually with the YouTube channel. Right now, I think I'm 45% US and about 12% UK. So I'm creeping up there and I'm getting really close to that mark. And I notice as I get more of that, so-called first world country
Hmm.
viewership, I notice RPM's been kicking up too.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. Yeah, and your particular niche, what are the RPMs or the CPMs, I guess. We'll go off CPM. Do you know what the CPMs
I
are?
don't know what the CPMs are because they don't show me that in analytics anymore, but
Okay.
the RPMs I think are close to like 7 or 8 now, which is
Okay,
pretty,
so
yeah.
so CPM would be double, like
Yeah.
pretty much double that. So
Yeah.
16. Wow, that's
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
that's
pretty
high
high.
CPM.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's high CPM, yeah.
Nice.
But
Yeah, and
that's been over the last few months as the subscribership has grown. I didn't have that before.
perfect, perfect. So yeah, I mean, by the time if you get your audience to 70-80% US, UK, I mean,
Hmm.
your revenue should probably double as well. You'll
Yeah.
probably be at, yeah, 5,000 a month. Yeah,
Yeah, probably. That's what I'm hoping.
that's pretty cool.
When I first started this run, my thought was, well, if I get to 10% of my blog revenues, like, I'll be pretty happy.
Yeah.
And I'm there now. Like I'm there. It's like, well, okay, so I'm getting close to 2,500 a month. That's about 10% of what my blog revenue has been. And now
Yep.
I'm getting really close to it. So like, this is going great. Um, I think the only thing I've been trying to figure out is how do I get people on the YouTube channel to go to my blog? Because then if I get them to the blog, I even make even more money because the blog CPM is like way up there, right? Or the RPM for the blog is way up there. So if I can
Yeah.
just like, I don't even need you to buy anything. I just need you to show up. And then
Do
if
you
I
have
get
the
done with it.
link to your blog in the descriptions of your
Yeah,
videos?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then
I'm
in
starting I'm I'm starting to experiment with cards where I
okay.
mention in the script saying like, hey, um, we're talking about this in the video, but the videos are usually like a summary of what the blog posts are, because the blog posts tend to be a lot more comprehensive.
Hmm.
And so in there I just say like, hey, like if you want to know more about this, like you should really check out our blog post, because our blog goes in depth. We also updated a lot more than the video post, because the video post I can only do once. And if I need to update, I can't just cut it up on YouTube and edit it like I can with a blog post. I actually have to create a new video. So if you
Right.
want the most up-to-date information, you want to go to the blog, because the blog is going to be the most up-to-date.
I see. I
So
see.
that's been my
Yeah.
spiel lately. I don't know how well it does because I've been doing that for the last 3 or 4 videos.
Okay.
The other thing I've been doing, like I've been doing a lot of micro optimization, right? Because I've been trying to get my CTR and my average view time up,
Hmm.
and that's more of a matter of just looking at my analytics, right? So when I look at analytics, I look at several things. I look at what I call the retention waterfall. because you know that graph that that it shows you like how long people stay on your videos, right?
Yep. The audience retention graph.
Yeah,
Yep.
the audience retention graph. So I try to get the first 30 seconds above 70%.
Oh,
And
wow. Yeah, that's good.
if I can't get it to 70%, I feel like I've done something wrong.
Hmm.
And I notice in looking at my videos and seeing why I'm not hitting the 70%, it's because my intros are too long. So I started looking at other videos and I actually had my kids help me out. This has actually been really good with my kids because I've involved them since they're that demographic that watches YouTube all day, right? So
That's
wouldn't they
awesome.
be the best to consult when it comes to like, hey,
Yeah.
this is how you hook people on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
And my oldest son, Drayson, he said, he's like, yeah, your intros suck, Dad. Like he's just being very honest, like your intros suck. Yeah, I was like, what kind of intros do you like? And he's like, I like these intros. And he's
Hmm.
showing me videos from this Minecraft person called Crafty. And he's like, you need your intros to be like this. And he's just all out there like ad-libbing and he's just like really straight to the point. And then he shows me Mr. Beast and he's like, you got to hit him like this. And
Interesting.
he's like, you got to hit the intro within 10, 15 seconds. And so I talked to my script writer and I talked to my voiceover and I said, we got to hit it within 10, 15 seconds. That's our intro now.
Okay.
We're not doing these 45-second, 1 minute long intros anymore. We're going to change it up. When I first started changing it, what happened was the length of the video dropped
Mm.
because the script like cut a whole bunch out, and then I was cutting a whole bunch out, and I said, no, we can't do this because the first time we did it, my video got cut 6 minutes. I'm like, oh, this isn't good. We need
Hmm.
to go much higher than this. We need to go back to 12 to 15 minute videos because the view time was so high when I did that. When I made the
Right.
6 minute video, I mean, they watched like 2 minutes of it, which is, from a percentage perspective is good, but from a monetization standpoint, that's bad because I'm not going to hit you with that many ads if you're only watching it for 2 minutes. But if you're watching it for 5 minutes, then I'm probably gonna get two rolls of ads and then I'm gonna make more money that way. So that's what I've been working on the script writers on. And so we recently nailed it with our last two videos. The main issue I'm running into now is I'm running out of content because I'm catching up to my blog. And I'm
Okay.
like, man, like what do I write? I was like, what do I write next? Because all that's left after this is all the virally stuff, like hey, I built this $10,000 aquarium and I blew like $50,000. Like, check out what I did, and I'm not going to do that
Right.
because that's way too much money.
Have
I leave
you?
that for the people who got 1 million followers, but not me.
Yeah, yeah. That's just for a video. That's yeah. I mean, that's a big investment to
Yeah,
yeah do that. Are what about like reper or doubling like recreating some of your most viral content? Have you already you're already pretty much doing that?
I'm thinking about doing that because I have
Yeah.
some really old, like some of my first videos, which are still doing well. Like they get views and everything, but the scripts are bad. The voiceover is, at least compared to what it is now, is really bad.
Hmm.
And there was a point in time early on before I started working with you when I was using AI voice, and the AI voice was horrible.
Oh,
Uh,
was it like a robot? It wasn't from
Yeah,
11 Labs,
it
huh?
was very robotic,
Yeah,
and I don't like it, and the intros are too long, and so I'm thinking about maybe I should just redo those videos.
I
And
would.
I don't know if that's going to cannibalize the older videos, and that's because I'm just new to this. I don't really know how that works.
Yeah, so I could tell you, yes, it will. It may cannibalize the older videos, like those, the views per hour is going to start dropping on those, but
Mhm.
the new video will kind of replace that.
Okay.
So, like if your old video got 1 million views and it's still getting, every views per every 24 hours,
Hmm.
that one may fall off, but that now this video has the opportunity to get 1 million views again, right?
Got it. Okay.
So I think it's a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah, because I have some older stuff where I look at it, I was like, oh man, that's horrible. And even the comments I get, they talk about it like, man, Mark, your intros are so long. And I always comment back, it's like, my intros are much better now. You should check out my new videos. Here's the link to the newest one.
Yeah, yeah. That's hey, well, at least you identified that and but yeah, now you have more content to remake and I think
Yeah.
that'll be good for your channel too, just so you can like get more views and
Yeah.
um cool. So, yeah.
The big one I've been looking at too is my review content. So I have a lot of review content on my blog because that's in the blog space. That's how a lot of bloggers make money is they do reviews and they talk about products or services that they get and they say like, I think this is good, I think this is crap.
Yep.
Usually that's a face video, so I've been struggling with that piece, right? Because you teach and we learn in your course about faceless channels. I'm like, should I do this faceless or should I do this face? I'm not really sure. So that's the one thing I'm struggling with. And I probably would have a library of about 50 to 60 videos if I did review content. And it's all from my blog already. Like I've already done it on my blog.
Oh, like incorporating your face into the channel. Is that
Well,
what you're saying?
it's because the review content that I have on my blog
Yeah.
is when I see that kind of stuff on YouTube, all of it's face. No one does it faceless, right? Like a lot of
Right.
my faceless stuff is educational, or it's almost like documentary style. So people eat that up and nobody really cares if your face is on that or not, right? They really care about your narration and stuff like that. There's even
Yep.
points in times where I thought to myself, do people even watch the videos at this point? Do they just hear them? Because I know I'm guilty of that. When I go to the gym, I'm listening to YouTube videos, but I don't
Yeah.
watch them. And I'm wondering if that's a bigger trend now because I'm thinking to myself, if I do it, I imagine there's a lot of other people doing it. And I wonder how I find that out. So I've been having this
Yeah.
shift of philosophy nowadays where I think to myself, the script and the voiceover is everything. And if the video edit sucks, I'm okay with that because everything else is going to be okay.
At least I'll listen to the video. Yeah.
Yeah, at least I listen
Yeah.
to the video, right?
Potentially. I mean, I never thought about that, but incorporating your face into the channel, like if you are comfortable with that, most people aren't, but if
Yeah,
you are, I think that could only bring more potential brand value because now they know who you are. Like they know
yeah,
there's someone behind a face behind the channel.
yeah,
So it could be a good long-term play
yeah,
considering you have a blog. Do you show your face on the blog? No.
yeah. I'm a real person and I've written
Oh,
books
okay.
on this subject, so everyone knows who I am at this point. I
Oh.
do have some older review content that I am faced in
Hmm.
before I started the faceless stuff. And I did do a recent faced video a few months back for a product that I got from a company that wanted me to evaluate it.
I see.
So I do have some, but it's not much, maybe like 10% of the channel.
Okay. Um, would you get more sponsorship money from those brands that reach out and say, "Hey, can you review my product?" And you say, "Hey, I have a blog, but I also have I'll show my face on my channel and like review it." Do you think?
I might. I think the biggest thing was getting myself up to 25,000 subscribers so brands could take me seriously. That was my
I
first thing,
see.
which is why I push faceless so hard because you can produce so fast with the faceless content and the way that
Yep.
you set everything up with your templates and the process. It's very easy to scale up and also it's very affordable, right? When I
Right.
do a face channel, it's going to take me forever to review it, to edit it, to write the scripts. I'm going to
Yep.
screw up all the time on camera, but if I do a faceless, I hire a VO, I got a script writer, my VO's on point. He usually nails it the first or second time. Like I don't have to worry about any of that stuff. So it's just stressful to do the face thing. That's what it
Oh,
is.
for sure. For
Yeah.
sure. It definitely like even making videos for my channel, I'm like some days I'm just like, I really don't want to do this, but it has to get done. So,
Yeah. And then the other
you
thing
know.
too is if I do faceless, the um the branding is going to be very different because I'm going to be very blunt, faceless
Mm,
versus the voiceover stuff is very educational, it's very down to earth, it's a
yeah.
very solid narration that really focuses on teaching. Whereas if I'm doing a faceless review of a product, I'm just going to be off the cuff. I'm just going to say this product's crap and this is why, or
Oh, if you're showing your face. If
yeah,
you're
or
showing
if
your
it's
face.
a
Yeah.
good product, I'm probably going to show the crap out of it because I love it and I'm passionate about it. And my
Yeah.
passion will come out through the video
Hmm.
to the point where I probably won't need the script because it'll all be in my head. And that's generally the way I am, and that's the way I started the channel way back when, because I did a video about like there's like a technique that you do in the pet space where you make sure you have like animals that don't carry diseases, and there's a technique for that.
Oh,
And
okay.
I did like a 40-minute video all about that. I was very passionate and talking about like all these different things and all these things that people tell you that are wrong. And I think nowadays, if I edited it, my editor would just be like throwing memes across the place because it'd be really funny.
Yeah, at least if you do show your face, you have that your editor who can at
Yeah.
least do most of the work. Like you don't have to edit anything. So,
Yeah, exactly.
um, yeah, no, I think it's a good idea. If I mean, potentially would you ever consider separating like you have your faceless channel, but you also start a new um channel that shows your face or
Well,
maybe is a or
No,
just you would like to combine it?
I would incorporate it because if I started doing face, the long-term play would be to become a true influencer.
Yeah.
And given the
Yeah.
fact that I mean, even right now when I look at some of the influencer accounts, I get more monthly views than them on average.
That's
Which I think is
crazy.
crazy, right?
That's
That's one thing
crazy.
I really like about this approach, or at least the way I've done it. I don't know if it's really the approach here, because I don't I mean you do teach search-based content, so
Yeah.
that is true. But I noticed the way that I built the channel, I on average I get a lot of views. I just don't get those big like million plus videos, right? But all
Mm,
my videos are consistent. They consistently grow, they consistently get views. So just by aggregate, I'm getting 400,000 views a month, right? And a lot of those influencers, they don't get that because they'll get like a moonshot on one video, right? And the rest of the
hmm
videos are dogs. So their channel will say like, yeah, historically they've gotten I don't know, like 15 million views, right? But on their average monthly view is like 80,000.
Oh, wow. I wonder if that's because you're getting more search traffic because you're optimizing for
Yeah,
SEO and everything.
it's
You think
possible.
that's why?
It's possible. When I looked at the analytics, it said that I think 15% of the traffic was coming from Google search.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't really know. I mean, you have more channels than me. I don't really know if that's a good percentage or not.
That's actually pretty low. So
Mhm.
you're getting a lot of suggested and browse.
Yes,
So,
I'm getting, well, I get YouTube search. So they call it external on
uh-huh.
analytics. So external is the stuff you're getting from websites or from Google search.
Yeah.
So my external is 15%.
Oh,
My
okay.
my YouTube search, I think is 35. And
Oh,
the
that's
rest,
high.
yeah, and then the rest
That's high.
is browser features and suggested videos.
Okay. Yeah, you're getting a lot of search. The
Yeah,
YouTube search at 35% is really high.
yeah,
Usually it's maybe around 20 or lower.
yeah,
So, yeah, I think that's why then. So
yeah.
you're like beating everyone on the search front.
Yes, and it's just consistent that way, which I like. I mean, for me,
Yeah,
I prefer that better. For me to get virally videos, I'd have to be face. I'd have to do a lot of crazy builds. I'd have to be very controversial, very polarizing, which I could do with my review content, but I don't think I would just do it straight up on in the space itself.
on video. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's my brand. That's my brand, right? And that's the thing I always pride myself on my blog. I always say I don't
Yeah.
take money from sponsors. That's always been my thing, right? Which is why
hmm
I say, hey, you can trust what I write because none of these sponsors pay me. If a product sucks, I'm going to say it sucks.
hmm Yeah.
And unless they write me a cease and desist letter, I'm just going to keep going with it. And that's just the way I am. And I learned that from a guy in MySpace. He's an ex-Marine, and he's the same way. He's no BS, and he will just light a fire under a vendor if they suck.
Oh, wow.
And I known him for a long time. His name's Travis,
Yeah.
um, and he's like, I'll never take sponsorship money because if I don't like a product, I would just get on camera and just say how much it sucks.
Yeah. I mean, hey,
It's a
it's
different approach. It's a different
yeah,
approach, but that's the way we do it.
that's good. I mean,
Mm.
but for the products you do like, I mean, you can always reach out to that company and be like, hey,
Right.
I did a review,
Yeah.
non-paid. I like your
Right.
product.
Yeah.
Do you
And
want to sponsor
there is one
me?
that I want to reach out to.
Yeah.
I met them at a trade show probably like 3 months after I started with you.
Yeah.
And they told me at the time, they're like, your channel's too small.
Oh, okay.
So I want to get to 25,000 subscribers and then really start focusing. I want to go to a trade show and say like, hey, here's who I am. Here's what I do. Got 25,000 um, subscribers on YouTube. Here's my
You're almost there,
demographics. Yeah,
right?
I'm almost there. Yeah, I should be there by the end of this month.
Okay.
Um, and then YouTube gives you a like a media sheet that gives you all your demographics. So I want to
Yep.
print that out and give them to them and like, here's what I do. And I
Yeah.
think all my metrics beat out a lot of influencers right now. Unless you're like the top guy in my space, but most of the top guys in my space, they end up having stores like me, right? But I
Oh,
don't
okay.
sell a lot of the products um that I want from sponsors.
Yeah.
My stuff at this point is almost merc. So it's not that big of a it's not that big of a I'm not a competitor for them anymore. I stepped
Oh,
out of that
so
stuff since COVID because a lot of the manufacturing that I used to work with, the manufacturers I used to work with, they all went
hmm
out of business. Because
Oh,
I
wow.
used to have custom equipment. I sold equipment in pet stores back in the day, and those did great, but COVID killed all that business. So I'm kind of done with that. And plus, this is easier, you know?
Yeah, this is
This
easier.
is
That's crazy
easier.
that Why did those, I'm curious why those companies went out. I thought like pets became more popular during
They
COVID,
did,
no?
but a lot of the manufacturing was based out in China, and at least where my manufacturers were, they're in the heart of where the pandemic was.
Oh, I see.
So a
Yeah.
lot of their factory workers were sick, were dying, and the government shut down those areas, and they went out of business. It was tough.
Oh, yeah. Hey, yeah, that's what's nice about the YouTube ad revenue. You don't have to worry about,
Yeah, if
the
you have a
product
pandemic,
side.
people are just gonna watch YouTube channels anyway, so it's all good.
Dude, in 2020, that was some of the highest,
Uh-huh.
like the spike in revenue and subscribers on my
Yeah,
channels were some of the highest.
yeah, exactly.
It was a
I mean,
good time.
I had my viral moment during COVID because I got an interview on MSNBC for my
Oh, you did?
niche. Yeah, because I used to sell a medication
Hmm.
that was considered a possible cure for COVID. And
Oh,
so
wow.
they put me on an expert panel on MSNBC, and they had me speak about my experience, and so many individuals wanted to buy it for human consumption. I refused to sell it. So I
Okay.
ended up getting a lot of death threats from it, and I showed the reporter all the different messages that I got of people saying like they're going to kill me because I wouldn't give them the product for their sick grandpa or grandma.
Oh
And
my
I ended up on
gosh.
this expert panel to talk about what this product really is and why you shouldn't ingest it because it will kill you because it's a pure product. Because when you get a compound pharmaceutical, it's like a percentage of the active ingredient, right?
Right, right.
Well, what these people were buying off eBay was like 99.8% pure product, right?
Hmm.
So you're taking a
Hmm.
pure product that's not compounded and you're just taking it. So you're gonna overdose, and that's what happened to these people.
Oh, wow. And this, I mean, was this before, were you working corporate before? Is this
Yeah.
during,
This is
okay.
I was working corporate then, yeah.
But you
I
went
was
full time. When did you go
uh
full time entrepreneur, like with your blogs and now the YouTube?
last year.
Last
Um
year.
forget what year. It was May or June of last year.
Oh, that's crazy. So you were working corporate and doing the blogs on the
Yeah.
side.
Yeah.
Wow. How long did it take for you to be like, okay, I'm making enough money from my blog to now go full time with that instead of and drop the corporate job? Because that's, I'm sure a lot of
Um
people want to know that.
Honest, honestly, if I didn't have the situation that I have, I would have moved on a lot sooner.
Uh-huh.
I think most of the people who take courses from you don't have the financial overhead that I have, right? Because I have a
Right.
lot of
You
things
have
on my,
kids.
I have kids.
Yeah.
I went through a divorce.
Yeah.
My wife got my ex-wife got almost everything.
Yeah.
So it's a lot different for me versus somebody who's either single or maybe like with a significant other, but they don't have kids yet,
Right.
or they may not have a mortgage yet. Like I had a lot of that. So my issue with leaving the workforce is I was like, I need to make at least six figures of profit before I even leave.
Hmm.
And I think a lot of people, especially if they're younger, they could probably just get by if they make 3 or 4K profit a month, and they'll be gone, right?
Yeah.
But mine's different. Plus, my other kid's special needs, my youngest, and that makes it a lot more difficult. I mean, that's the
Yeah.
reality here nowadays with health insurance in America, right? Health insurance in America is
Hmm.
very expensive if you're on your own. I did speak to several insurance brokers when I was looking to switch to an S corp, right? Because you that's another thing, like people don't talk about taxes, right? And
Yep.
you know this because you're at a higher end, and anybody who's been operating at a higher end with this type of stuff, they eventually want to switch to an S corp because for tax purposes, it's advantageous.
Yeah.
Typically, you want to switch to an S corp when you hit about $40,000 a year in profit, right?
Yep.
That's generally the tax advice. And I just say this because I'm a former CPA, so I know all this stuff.
Oh, you are. Okay.
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
Yeah. So you want to switch to an S corp because then you're paying
Yeah.
all that self-employment tax, right? And the cool thing is
Yep.
when you go S corp is that you're a W-2 employee and you can put yourself on benefits. You can buy benefits for your company, and you can
Yep.
put like your significant other on there. You can pay your kids through your S corp, or you can create what's called an FMLC and do it that way.
Yep.
There's all these different tax advantages you can do that we don't really talk about in our space because you have to get to a certain level to do it, right?
Yeah.
Um, but those are the things I started talking about. And when I talked to my insurance broker about it, they said, "Hey, your kid's a pre-existing condition." And I said, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Well, your kid's special needs. He was born with an ear condition, and they won't approve the what do you call it? the hearing aids he uses." because the hearing aids he uses are what's considered specialized DME, durable
Okay.
medical equipment, and
hmm
that's a specialized code that a lot of private healthcare insurance won't cover.
Don't cover.
Yeah,
Ah,
so
I
that's been a
see.
tough one. Um,
Yeah.
that was a big negotiation with my ex-wife about like, hey, um, I need your help on this. Like, the kids aren't going to get insurance on my end. I need
Yeah.
you to get
Yeah.
insurance on my end, and um, I was tough on her because she's like, I don't really need to work anymore now that I divorced and I'm making a good I have a lot of assets, so why would I want to work?
I mean, yeah, it's something to that's
Yeah,
crazy. That's crazy.
yeah,
Well, yeah, you went through a lot. I mean,
yeah.
and then to decide to like go full time with this, were you scared at all? Like, were you thinking, or at the time you were like, you know what? No, I'm making
Well, what
six
happened? I
figures.
mean, um, part of it was my hand was forced, right?
Yeah.
The company I was working for the most part, let me go because I had an interview with Niche Pursuits and I got a feature on US Today.
Okay.
And they got word of it because nowadays, at one point, right, I had like, that Google thing when you look up your name and it shows like everything that you do.
The Google panel. Yeah.
Yeah, I had the Google panel for a while, right? Because of all the different PR stuff I've been
Oh,
doing,
wow.
right? And they saw that, right? They looked at that because the parent company, I was working for a smaller company, and then the parent company acquired them, right? So they do
hmm
all this due diligence on the employees they're bringing in, right? So they do all the due diligence on me. They look me up, they look at my background, they're like, "Who is this person? Is this person even working?" And I was like, "I do my job, like I'm
Yeah.
fine." And then they get into this like, "Oh, we need to sign a non-compete," and I was like, I don't even work in your space. You work in the political space. I write about pets. How's that in
Yeah.
competition with you?
That's crazy.
Yeah, they got really
Wow.
bad. And they're like, we don't. He's like, we can't take this guy serious because like, and that is the other thing too is that they're going through an IPO, right?
Yeah.
And this is what I mean. Like, I was making a good amount of money in the corporate world. You know,
hmm
I was running as a corporate controller, putting a company through an IPO. Like that's high level stuff, right? That's a
Right.
six-figure job, right? Six
Yeah.
figure job with a big payout when a company goes for sale, right?
Right.
And that's what I do. And that's why it was so hard to walk away because I was like, well, I'm making this much money. Like I get offers from recruiters, like they want to pay this and this and this and this and this and this, and they're offering big benefits and stock options and all that other stuff. But then I got to work a lot. But some of them offer like remote work arrangements. So it doesn't really seem that bad. Can I really do it? But the
hmm
problem I've always had with industry is that my industry especially, is so rigid about what you can and can't do on the off the clock. That's my problem with it, right?
hmm
There's other companies that have like a no moonlighting clause. There's other companies that don't even care what you do. I was fortunate in the last job that I worked at where I had a heart to heart with the CEO and he was like, I don't care what you do. I'm fine with it. And in fact, I'd be perfectly happy the day you tell me that you decided to walk from here because you're making like double what you make here, and I'll be very happy for you.
Mm.
So I was able to have that conversation with my last owner, but that
Yeah.
new company that came in was not like that at all. And that's what caused a lot of the problems. Um, I mean, could I
Interesting.
take consulting roles here and there? Could I take another full-time job? Yeah, sure I can if the company's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
It's just hard to find.
So
And these
I mean,
days,
you're in a
yeah,
good position.
yeah,
You have options. You're like, you
yeah,
know what, I have options and I want the freedom. And I know that too, the corporate world. I mean, my wife works corporate, so
yeah,
it's very like, we have to be careful what
right.
if she's online, I'm like, just don't be online. How about
Yeah,
that?
yeah, exactly, exactly.
Just don't be online.
Yeah.
So
And,
yeah,
and my ex-wife was like that too, and that's why she never had a corporate job. And that's why she never
yeah.
worked. I mean, part of it was also she didn't have to, but part of it was also because she's so outspoken.
hmm
She would just go on like LinkedIn and Twitter and Facebook and all that stuff and just like speak her mind.
Oh
And you
wow.
can't do
Yeah.
that on corporate, right?
No, nope,
I mean,
nope.
she would be a great influencer if she really wanted to do the outreach. She just doesn't want to. She just wants to say her piece and disappear. That's just
Yeah,
the way she is.
yeah.
But that would obviously get her in trouble in a corporate environment, especially if she had like the roles that I would have,
Oh, for sure. I mean,
where
you
they're
were
like,
like high level.
like, hey, you can't be talking about current politics or like religion. when we're about to go IPO and our CFO's on a roadshow and we're trying to get investors. Like
Yep.
it's not
Nope.
a good idea.
You got to be clean cut. Clean cut. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That's interesting. I didn't know your background. I mean, that's
Yeah.
pretty cool. Thank you for sharing that.
Mhm.
And it get hopefully it gives a lot of other people courage too. Like you had a lot going on,
Yeah.
and you didn't even have to walk away from corporate per se. Your income there was magnificent, and
Yeah.
but you decided like, you know what, I want the freedom, I want the flexibility.
Yeah.
Just from what I hear, and like, I
Yeah.
mean, correct me if I'm wrong. If there's anything else, please add.
Well, part of it's
But
also the availability to my kids, right? Because
okay,
when
yeah,
I don't work a corporate job, like I can see them every day if I want to, and that's totally fine. And
that's a huge
nobody's
deal.
gonna give me issues for that. No one's gonna at one point at the company I worked, the last company I worked for, they put me on FMLA because I was going to counseling with my kids every week for like the post-divorce trauma stuff. Like they needed
Hmm.
counseling for that. I got put
Yeah,
on FMLA for that because my boss wanted to fire me. And so HR stepped in and said, "You can't fire him for this. This
yeah,
isn't
you can't.
right."
Yeah,
Well, so what we need to do is we need to place Mark on FMLA because you're stepping on line. And so they
yeah,
had to put me on FMLA for that to protect me.
yeah. Yeah. And there are some benefits in the corporate world on that side too
Yeah,
for employees. Like
yeah,
companies can't just fire you for, like you said, your
yeah,
situation.
yeah. But
So
what I always tell people, because I mean,
yeah.
when you hit the level that I'm at and you're at, people find out what you do and they always want to know, like, hey, how do you do this? Or I'm trying to do this and I'm trying to do that. And I always tell people that stick with your day job. Like, stick with your day job as much as you have. Like, it's harder than you think when you're on your own, especially the healthcare thing.
Hmm.
Like, figure out how to optimize your full-time job to the best of your abilities and just side hustle and then make it another source of income and make it stable. And then when you're ready, maybe you leave or maybe not. Like maybe you can keep both. I know people who keep both and they do fine.
Yeah.
Um, and with your system, I mean, with your system, it's not really a full-time job. So
Yeah,
even with
no, it's not.
like I mean, I have months in blogging where I'm pulling like 25,000 a month and I work 10 hours a week and it's cool.
Yep. Yeah. That's pretty passive. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
people are watching, reading the content
yeah.
daily without you having to,
Yeah,
be there writing it.
and I could just take a break and be like, you know what, I'm not gonna work for a week. And
Yep.
it still makes money because it's passive.
Yep.
And it's just really a matter of what your drive is, right? Like for me, my drive is legacy at this point. Like because I've already had it all. Like I was married for a long time. I was with the same woman for almost restaurants from a past business exit that I had, so they're well taken care of. For me, I tell myself if I pass away tomorrow, like I've accomplished a lot in my life. Like I'm cool with it. I've lived a good life already. At this point, it's part about legacy and just giving value to others.
Mm.
And I hope that many people who take your courses get to that point because you see that a lot, like say in the real estate space, that happens. You see like this 7-year-old guy or this woman who's been really successful in real estate. And at this point in life, all they got left is to just give.
Yep.
And that's where you want to get to in life, right? And that's really where you really provide the most value of yourself. And um, I think through your course and through learning and being successful through this course, they're going to get there. Because it's not just YouTube. We've talked about this before. It's like, it's not just ad revenue. You can do sponsorships. You can sell a channel or acquire other channels and do multiple channels. And with that income, you don't have to put it into YouTube channels. You can get into investments. You can get into crypto, like you talked about me earlier before this call, or you can get
Yep.
into real estate. There's other paths. There's a saying from Chris Carlin that says the average millionaire has the average multimillionaire, not average millionaire, but the average multimillionaire has 7 sources of income, right?
Yeah.
So when you think about that, they're like,
Yeah.
well, what are your 7 sources, right? Like when I think of mine, I think it's like 4 or 5, right? So I think to myself, how did I get to 7? And a lot of that is this is just my drive, right? Just driving my passion because I have this passion of just leaving a good legacy. There's also a saying from this athlete. His name's Giannis. He's a basketball player, but on
Hmm.
his Instagram profile states very clearly, it says, "I am my father's legacy."
Oh, wow.
And so he lives by that, right?
Yeah. That's
And so I
powerful.
take something like that to heart, right? I think to myself, well, my dad immigrated here from Peru. He had nothing. It was him and his 11 brothers and 9 sisters. And they left everything behind. Some of them were engineers in Peru, but they couldn't become engineers in the US because back then you didn't have like the H-1B, or I think you still did, but it was a little bit complicated back then, right? So they
Hmm.
just had to become, they all just got into HVAC. So a lot of people in my family are in HVAC, in the HVAC business, right?
Yeah.
And so they all grew their businesses, they all became successful that way. And I think to myself, my dad fought hard to be in this country. My dad fought hard to give us the life that we have. Like, what better purpose do I have to make sure I honor his legacy by becoming successful myself, right?
Yeah. It's like a
And that's
thank
just,
you to him. Like,
yeah, it's
thank
like a
you
thank
for
you to him.
everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because when I
Yep.
think about it, it's like, well, if my dad didn't immigrate, where would it be? Peru's not so bad. But my mom lived in Nicaragua, and Nicaragua was really bad back then when my mom lived there.
Hmm.
So, and I imagine there's immigrants in your channel or second generation immigrants where their parents have come from really bad areas and they have
Yep.
opportunity here to become big, or maybe they're in that and they're trying to become big because when you live in another country and you make US dollars, it's life changing. I have that with my VAs. That's the other thing that I really like too. I know I'm sure you get this too. But I've had VAs write me thank you letters. I have a
Oh,
blog
yeah.
writer who's been with me forever. Oh gosh, it's
Yeah.
years that she's been with me. But she started on Pakistan and now she lives in the UAE. And a lot of the success she's had was because she wrote for me and my blog got as big as it got and the YouTube channel got big and she was known in the area working for me because they're like, yeah, this channel's big stuff. Like it gets good traction. She ended up working for a media company out there. So now she lives in the
Wow.
UAE.
Yeah. That's
And
life changing. And that,
yeah,
that
it's
feels
life
good.
changing.
That
Yeah.
feels good. Yeah.
Yeah. Or I mean, I've mentored people before in the make money online space. I had this guy who was a nurse, I think, in Croatia, making 100
Hmm.
US dollars a month. 100 US dollars a month as a
In
nurse.
Croatia. Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whereas here
Yeah.
in Austin, I mean, you're a nurse, you're making close to six figures here, right?
Yep. Especially now. Yeah.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
remember talking to this guy and I was just curious. I say, hey, so what would $5,000 a month in US dollars get me there? And he
Yeah.
straight up told me, he's like, you'd make more money than the prime minister here.
You'd be a
You
king.
live-
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you live like a king here.
It's
I'm like,
true.
all right.
My sales girl, I mean, she's in the Philippines and she makes more than her local mayor. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah, it's
So
insane.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I ended up helping him, and I remember he messaged me when he made his first $100 a month online,
Hmm.
and he sent me this big thank you letter. He's like, I can't believe that this blog that because it just started, right? It doesn't take much to make $100 a month when you start.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
like, I can't believe this is making more than what I make as a nurse. And I said,
That's
I said, if you
crazy.
think $100 US dollars a month is good, wait until you get to 1,000, because it's
Yeah,
not that hard to get to
10x.
1,000 either.
No, it's not. It's not, especially right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, I had
Yeah,
this other lady from the Philippines, and she was actually one of the hires I got from you.
yeah.
And she wrote me this big thank you letter because, see, I have this thing. I give people raises, right? I
Hmm.
know that you negotiate rates and you have certain rates, and people stick with it. I don't really stick to it. I give people raises over time because I
Yeah.
because I can, right? The business is profitable. Like I'm okay with that. Um, I think I don't know. I pay her like 2.5 more than what originally it was, and
Okay.
I'm okay with that
Nice.
because the profitability of the channel's grown. Like I'm okay with paying you more.
Yeah.
And she wrote me this big thank you letter saying that because of that, she doesn't have any debt anymore, and she was able to graduate with honors, and it helped a
That's
lot
amazing.
because she was able to free up a lot of her time because the only thing she had to focus on was just studying and script writing. And I honestly didn't give her a lot, but the money she was getting from me and other clients was helping a lot more than she could if she worked locally.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, it's so wonderful because it's not just the legacy you're leaving for your kids, you're honoring your father, but
Mhm.
also other people too that
Yeah,
like in different countries. Like this is
yeah.
crazy, you know?
Yeah, and we don't hear that a lot
Yeah.
in the coaching space. We always hear like, "Hey, look, you can go get your bag, you can go own a McLaren and live anywhere in the world." It's very individualistic. I would almost say it's like
Self-serving. Yeah.
self-serving, right?
Yeah.
But there's not many people saying like, "Hey, look, I'm Ryan. I have this wonderful life. I've married the woman of my dreams. We get to travel, we get to live life on our terms."
Hmm.
But there's not only that, but it's like, but I have this big community where I give. Like I have, VAs writing me this and this thank you letters. I've mentored people and I've taken them out of poverty and now they're living a great life. Like, there's
Yep.
stories behind this that are oftentimes hidden from the whole flexing piece that we see in social media. And I wish we could show more of it because a lot of the stuff's life changing. I have another friend, he had a mattress company and he sold his mattress company for high six figures, like almost $1
Hmm.
million. And he had a Siberian VA who did a lot of his work.
Okay.
And she's done really well for herself in Siberia because of the fact that she's worked for him. She's gotten clients and referrals, and now she demands US money. She's
Oh,
not
wow.
demanding Siberian money anymore. She's demanding
Yeah.
like a US dollar paid
Yeah.
as a content writer, editor, and reviewer. Um, and she's transitioned towards more social media because of the whole, AI revolution, which has made it really hard for content writers. I mean, that's just a grim reality of things, right? But she's been able to
Hmm.
transition to social media and video editing, which has been great. So she's still working with him now because he started a sign company.
Oh,
And
very
his
nice.
sign company is doing really well. Like he told me, and he works in the same space as me. So him and I collaborate a lot.
Yeah.
And he was telling me, he's like, hey, I just got landed this big deal. He landed this big deal with Seachem, which is like this really big brand of aquarium supplies, right?
Hmm.
And then he landed this other one, what was it? San Francisco Bay Brands.
Okay.
They sell a bunch of different fish foods. And I think they're a shell company for a lot of other brands too. So it expands even more, right?
Hmm.
And he's like, hey, he's like, yeah, I just got my first 40,000 from the PL. He's like, yes.
Nice. Nice. Very nice. That's awesome. That's
But
awesome.
she handles all the social media.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
she works for him. And he's very generous too. Like if he's making money, he's paying her money. And
Yep.
it's just that's the
Yep.
way it works.
That's it.
Mhm.
And that's what this business model allows too, is like giving back to others and giving opportunities to others as well. It's not just self-serving. That's what I loved about it most. Like when I
Mhm.
first hired my first team for my first channel, it was like these are all college students in the
Right.
Philippines, and I'm helping them pay their tuition. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's
Mhm.
that's rewarding. But
Yeah.
awesome, Mark. I appreciate you sharing everything. I could talk to you for hours. This is good stuff. This is good stuff. Is there any last pieces of knowledge, advice, anything you want to give to the younger people coming up too? Because like you're,
Yes.
I think a little bit older than me.
Mhm.
You have
Mhm.
kids, and like I'm looking at you. I'm like, man, yeah. I'm thinking about these things. Like, well, I want to have kids. I want to like leave a legacy in these things. But do you
Yes.
have advice for anyone that's coming up in the ranks too?
Yeah. So I would say if you're starting out in this world, in the content creation space, you really have to treat what you're doing as a business, right? Think of it this way. Most brick and mortar businesses, they don't profit usually the first 2 or 3 years, right?
Correct.
Um, so
Yep.
you should really come in there saying, I'm coming in here as a student to learn, and I know I'm going to mess up. And I know I'm going to have failures, and that's going to be okay because you learn by failing. That's a reality of life. It makes you stronger, it makes you more sound. So when I say something like that, I also say, don't quit your day job because you're doing this. Don't quit your day job saying like, I'm going to make $10,000 a month in 3 months because the amount of people who are able to do that is very rare. It's
Hmm.
it's a small percentage, right? A lot of
Yeah, it
influencers go
is.
on there and say like, hey, look at that. You can make $10,000 a month by just signing up to our That's not the way it works.
You got to put in
What
the work.
what coaches teach is a system. We teach the system so that you can implement the system and become successful. But that success is predicated on your own efforts.
Correct.
And if you're constantly stressed out of whether or not you're going to pay the electricity bill because you're not making enough because you quit your job and you're, making a few $100s on YouTube, that's not where you want to be.
Mm-mm.
You want to learn how to optimize your life, cut out all your distractions, stop doing stuff like binging Netflix and everything, and focus. Focus on your day job, focus on your significant other, focus on growing your business, and shut out a lot of those distractions so you can stay disciplined. Because that discipline will carry over. And then as you start scaling and you start making money, then you can lay off a little bit. But there's that piece where you got to do it. And most of the people I imagine that you take on are probably college students. They should know this already from being through college because you had to do that
Yeah.
in college. I mean, I did that in
Yep.
college. I worked full time and I went to college at the same time.
Same.
I had to be disciplined. I
Yeah, I
got
was
a
living off 15. I made $1,500 a month serving
yeah,
and paying for everything.
yeah. I mean, my last summer, I barely graduated. I barely graduated in the
Yeah.
summer, and I just literally ran out of money. I couldn't do school anymore. I
Yeah.
was fortunate that I already had a full-time offer, but I was like bridging that last
Right.
piece. I was like, oh, I'm just gonna load up my credit cards and just get it done because I have a full-time offer that's already ready to go. But I just gotta get through my schooling so I can get my degree so I can qualify so they don't rescind my offer.
Hmm.
And I just handled it. But I think a lot of your college students should know this already
Yep.
because I mean you got to do that, right?
Yeah. You got to put in the work. It
Put in the
takes,
work.
I mean, you couldn't have put it into better words, Mark. That
Yeah,
was perfect. Yeah. That's, giving yourself enough time to be successful at it. Like you're not just
yeah,
going to come in and first 2 days and start making a profit.
yeah. And
You
even
got to learn
even
it.
now, you know this. I've started like I've tried two or three different channels with
Yeah.
the for a second channel, right? Um, the first one didn't do so well, so I just moved on. I'm doing a second one now. The second one I launched with my son, which
Hmm.
is really fun, right? And I think that one's doing a lot better
Yeah.
than the last one I tried. The only difference is that it's a lot more investment because what this type of niche I'm doing it's not really super competitive, but you have to be really good at your content. You got to be on point, right? And it's
Hmm.
not like my blog where I have already content there. I have to create the content. It
Yeah.
has to be funny. So it requires a certain level of script writer. So it
Hmm.
becomes a bit expensive because of that, right? Um, but I do it with my son, and that's cool for me.
That's amazing.
And it's something that I tell him that, and this is my youngest son I do this with because he's really into this niche I jumped into.
Yeah.
And I tell him that it's like his lesson in entrepreneurship, right?
Yep.
Um, because I don't know if you deal with this. Actually, you don't have. I forget you don't have kids, but I
Not
deal with
yet.
this now. I deal with this now
Yeah.
because my oldest is becoming a preteen, right? He's almost a
Hmm.
teenager now, and it's almost like a blessing and curse because he tells his mother like, I want to be a content writer. I want to be a YouTuber. And I think to myself, like, oh my God, he's one of those. No, I don't need this. But then he looks at me and he's like, Dad, you're a
That's what you're doing.
YouTuber and you're
Yeah.
successful at it. So I know I can do it. I was like,
Yeah.
oh man, it's like a blessing and a curse.
Yeah. Come on, Dad. That's awesome.
He's like,
That's
teach me how to
awesome.
be the next Mr. Beast. I was like, I'm not Mr. Beast. I'm not Mr. Beast, Jason. I'm
No.
just it's this YouTube channel. I was like, I do a little bit of face, but yeah, if you want to learn it, you learn it, but
Yeah.
it's a different approach. But it is a
Yeah.
blessing and a curse because now my kids think they can become YouTubers.
That's
And that's like the
amazing.
one thing you want to avoid, right? You want to avoid teaching your sons that it's okay that they can just be a YouTuber and not go to college. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Oh man.
Yeah.
When I have that, I don't know when that conversation will come, but I'm dreading that day. So I
Yeah.
don't know what I'll do. But who knows?
Yeah.
The world may be totally
Yeah.
different.
And it's gonna be worse
Yeah.
for you because you're an actual influencer. Like I'm
Yeah.
kind of an influencer, but I don't go on social media and like show my lifestyle.
Yeah.
But you are an actual influencer, so it's even worse for you.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. No social media for my kids unless they're helping me with my business, then
Yeah.
yeah, no.
I think that's
Yeah.
the best approach. That's what I'm doing
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
They're learning my business. They're learning what I do. They're understanding the work it takes,
Yeah.
and it helps a lot when they look at my scripts and they look at that and like, this sucks, Dad, or like, why are you saying this in the script? That's like so 1990s. Like this is bad. Or
For
I'm not
sure.
even 1990s. More like this is like so 2010s
Yeah. Yeah.
because they're that young, right?
Yeah. That's
And it makes
amazing,
sense
Mark.
because most of my audience is Generation Alpha. They're like preteens, so it's like
Right.
preteens and like up to 30 is the audience that I do now with this niche that I'm working on right now.
I see. I see.
But it's been encouraging. The comments I've gotten have been really good. Um, it takes a long time to do videos. It's not like my aquarium. It's not like my other channel where it's like this. It's really quick because I have the team.
For
This
sure.
is way more involved. Like the editing has to be on point, the script has to be on point, the humor has to be on point. My voiceover has to be off the cuff and goes off script all the time, and I love it, and that's the way it's supposed to be.
Hmm.
Um, and the research is pretty comprehensive and niche. But the comments I get are really solid. They're like, "Oh, I really love this channel," or like I get a lot of comments that say, "I can't believe your channel only has this many subscribers. How are you not huge?" Which is a
Perfect.
really encouraging sign.
That's good. Yeah,
That's really
that's good.
good.
Yeah. Very nice. Very
Yeah,
nice. Awesome, Mark. I appreciate you sharing your story. We'll definitely have to come back for a part 3 in a
yeah,
couple months and see where you're at. But yeah, man, I appreciate it. Thank you for hopping on the call.
awesome.